conversation with my mom not too long ago where I was talking about not waiting for people anymore. The analogy that I gave, and I've said this to some people in my life, some who I've been romantically connected to, some that are friends. I was like, listen, I am putting the jetpack on, okay? I'm putting the jetpack on, and either you're going to come along with me or you're not. I can give you the coordinates of my destination when I get there, and I hope to see you there. And if not, it's okay. In this healing journey, as I've been transforming, cultivating intentionally a life that is filled with joy, that looks more and more like a reflection of who I truly am and not from a default of pain. Not everybody can have access to this new version of me. And one of the things in my people pleasing that I have been deconstructing is I have a tendency to share. I don't want to say overshare, but when I feel comfortable with people and when I get to a place where I really feel connected and safe with someone, I begin to divulge more and more and more about me and the things that I might be working on. And I'd say, just trying to adjust the camera really quick, hold on. And I'd say within the past, there was a period of time before the last 4 years, I would say. So before 2021, I'll say that I had gone through this period of wanting to be more open and wanting to be more vulnerable because I felt that I was someone who was very closed off. There was some critiques and some feedbacks that I used to get when I was younger that, well, maybe not feedback or critique. It was a statement that people would say to me. They would say, "Oh my gosh, Kendall, now that I know you, you're really nice. You're really sweet. My first impression of you, just kind of looking at you and seeing you, I thought you were a bitch." And I'd say, "What? Why? How would you get that impression?" Most of the time, I think I came across then, and especially now, as very guarded. I recently had a coworker friend of mine say this very same thing to me, that I am intimidating and people are scared of me. Now, the old Kendall would have done all of these things. I would have jumped through so many hoops to come across, no. I want you to think that I'm nice. I want you to think that I'm sweet. I want you to think that I'm open and caring and all this other stuff. And I would have bent over backwards, all sorts of contortion to redirect this impression that people had that I'm mean, that I'm standoffish, that I'm cold. When this coworker friend said, "Yeah, there are people that are intimidated by you and scared of you," at first I said, "Really?" And then 2 seconds later I said, Good. Good. Because that means that you're going to stay over there. The people that I feel connected to, and this is just at work, the people that I feel connected to, the people that I feel I can have rapport with, there's a back and forth, there's enough safety, there's enough vulnerability, and I'm keeping it measured. Those are the people that I'm already engaging with. If there's other people that feel as though I am not someone that they can converse with or that they don't feel comfortable in talking to me, then good. There's probably a good reason for that. And so you can be over there and I can be over here, and that's fine. To be in that space right now feels so revolutionary for me. I went through an auditing period with family and friends. They don't know this. Maybe some do. But I went through an auditing period where I asked myself, okay, I'm shifting, I'm changing, I am going into this unknown, really, I don't want to say unknown. I say that quite a bit in these videos. There's a known felt sense of me that I that is within me, but I've been disconnected from it. I'm now reconnecting with that part of myself. And I'm no longer presenting something that I think other people would like just so I can remain in relationship with them. As a result of that, it means, and I had to come to terms with the fact that it means that some people will no longer be in my life. Whether that is me actively cutting them out and saying, okay, we can no longer be in relationship together, or situation, circumstance pull us apart and things just become untethered and they dissolve. In either case, I'm not gonna stop and try and wait. Because something that I recognize that I have done in the past is I go through this very self-reflective period. I'm a self-reflective person. I said this in a previous video. And I get to these moments in my life where I want to move forward. I want to progress, expand, take up space, use my voice. But then I get scared because my impression, it's my impression, I'm not saying that this is true. My impression is that there may be some people around me that aren't able to go with me where I'm going. So what I would then do is I would stop my work, go to the people and say, hey, let me tell you about this thing. It's really great. Awareness, meditation, this, that, blah, blah, blah. And come with me. Let's go together. What that was ultimately doing was stopping any progress that I was making. It would completely leave me dead in my tracks, dead in the water, in any sort of work that I had been progressing in. I was doing this under the guise of, but I want these people to come along with me. I want this sort of life, and I want these people that have been with me to be in this life with me. I realize how unkind that is, because it's giving the impression that these people don't really know what it is that they need. I know what they need. And I know what they need because I'm going somewhere and I want them to come along with me. It doesn't mean that they want to go to the same place. I didn't even ask them. I didn't even say, hey, this is what I'm doing and this is where I'm going. Do you want to come along? Sometimes, as I'm learning now more and more, I don't even need to have that conversation. I don't even need to say to people, hey, this is where I'm going. Just like I was saying at the beginning of this video, I'm putting the jet back on. Either you're coming or you're not. And I said in the beginning of the video, I'll give you the coordinates. Maybe I won't. Maybe I won't. Maybe I will not leave the breadcrumbs. Maybe I will just continue to move, and either you'll see the motion and say, hey, I want to be a part of where you're going, or you'll just kind of be like, what? What happened? Not everybody needs access to the new me. Not everybody is allowed access to the new me. And for the past, I'd say 2-3 years, I have been set apart. I thought this was punishment. I thought God was punishing me and putting me in a place of like timeout, where I was sitting in the corner by myself and I'm thinking to myself, okay, listen, I'm not perfect. I've made some mistakes, but hold up now. Hold up. Because I feel as though I'm getting the short end of the stick here. And what God kept saying to me was, it's not punishment. I'm protecting you. You are changing. You are evolving. You are growing into something new that you and I are working on together. And if you keep trying to go back to these people to bring you, you're slowing yourself down. Like, come on. Come with me. Let's lock arms and let's go and let's do this. But I didn't see it as protection at first. I saw it as a punishment. And it hurt. It hurt. I was praying. I was calling out to God in frustration, and not in these very, oh God, I was, yo, what's up? What's good? What we doing? Like, come on. I'm just curious as to what the process is, because my whole life was shifting, but I had asked for this shift, right? I had asked for this change, not realizing how the change was going to look, what ultimately was going to get affected, what was going to shift. More specifically, me being the person, it's starting with me. And these are things that I've talked about with people before. I've worked with clients in the wellness, spiritual wellness space. And I've talked with people about this of when you're the person that's making the change, it's felt energetically to the people around you. And so when you start to shift and move, then other people will also either shift and move, or like I said, they'll just fall away. But I forgot all the things that I said, y'all. I forgot all the things that I would advise other people of. And I think that's just kind of indicative of the human experience. We're great at giving advice to other people and guiding them in ways that is very helpful and insightful, but rarely do we take that advice for ourselves. So this new me that I'm evolving into, first of all, this has been years in the making. This started underground. If I think of like a seed that has been planted, God and I went and planted this seed. We planted this crop. And it was being cultivated and nurtured and tended to in all sorts of ways that I didn't even have an understanding of. And now that I'm seeing the sprouts, now that I'm seeing the shoots come up, there's almost a bit of a panic, because I know that something new is emerging. And while it is exciting, as I've said on this channel many times in previous videos, the unknown is frightening, particularly as it relates to an unknown of self, an unknown of identity. Even though it's not really an unknown, I'm just becoming more of the me that God had already designed me to be, but I'm not holding on to the false identities and narratives that I had attached to myself. So in this evolution of self, and it's a process. I'm not saying that I'm going to get to some sort of destination where now there's nothing that I need to do, there's nothing that I need to work on, we've made it, we're done. No, that's not what I'm saying. This is a continual evolution, and I'm working on just trying to make sure the Gizmo's not jumping up on here, because he's standing right here like, when am I gonna come up there? No. As I continue to evolve, I know that I need to have boundaries. I know that I need to stick to those boundaries. In the past, working with my therapist, I recognized, oh, I did not have boundaries before. I was not clear about what boundaries are. And once I began to really do that practice, really set boundaries, I wasn't maintaining the boundaries. I would set them, and then something would happen, then I'd say, okay, you know what, never mind. And that can be very disorienting, not just for me, but for the other person. That's not fair to either one of us, me and the other person that I'm interacting with, that I'm trying to enforce these boundaries with, but I keep going back on them. I've had to give myself a lot of grace. I've had to give myself a lot of patience, a lot of love, and understand that while this is going to take time, I don't want to give myself too much time where the bandwidth is so long and I am using now this like as an excuse or as a crutch. So I have to be mindful, be tender, be patient, give grace, but also continually say, Kendall, listen, keep the boundary, enforce it, let it stick no matter what. And as far as this, not everybody can have access to the new me. At first, I thought that means cutting people out. Samurai sword, shing, so clean that they won't even know that they have been excommunicated from my life. I realize that it doesn't necessarily have to be that extreme. It doesn't have to get to that place where I'm cutting people out completely of my life. What it does mean is that maybe I do not divulge all the information. Going back to that example that I was giving you about people in my past or even current saying, well, people are afraid of you, or they're intimidated, or they're scared, or they think that you're mean, and how I would have operated before in a space of trying to course correct that. Now I'm saying that that's fine, cool. That allows me to be able to then take that energy that I would have expended to create a foundation of people pleasing, and then pour it back into myself and ask myself, is this relationship or is this impression that someone has of me, like, is it really even that valuable? Do I even care about this person? Am I going to interact with them in any sort of way that will help me in this newer version of my life? 100%, 1,000 times the answer is no. And that gives me an idea of, okay, well then I don't need to spend so much time trying to convince this person or these people that they should like me and that I'm not mean. Okay, no, like, be over there once again and I'll be over here. The sharing, or how I would share things with people, I thought that I needed to divulge information. I thought that I need to be very vulnerable. So hearing this information in the past, then I would say to myself, okay, I need to open up. I need to be more vulnerable. I need to share more of myself. I need to be more giving of myself. But then what would happen, not all the time, but there would be times, and it would of course be the most painful times, with the most painful situations, with the most intimate people in my life. I would share something, and then that thing would come back and bite me later on, in that it became either a weapon for that person to use against me, or it was a way to have me kind of morph and shift and bend and contort myself once again to say, okay, well, no, let me, I'm sorry. And I can't even say that I wasn't enforcing a boundary, because I didn't have one then. But I would do all of these gymnastics to then try to get back in the good graces, where it's just, I don't need to do that. So I keep some things for myself. I keep a lot of things for myself. I had a conversation just a couple of weeks ago where I was talking to someone and I was sharing some information, and then I got off the phone with them and I said, I really didn't need to share all that. I could have actually kept a lot of that to myself. And I knew that if I had done that, because before with this person, I have a habit of sharing and just talking and talking and talking, and thinking like, okay, it's not a big deal. I can just share this information, not whatever. I mean, they know me. It's not anything that they're going to use later on. And thus far, it has not been the case where they have used those things later on. That's not true. Maybe bits and pieces. But in either case, I didn't experience such a high degree of harm with them that I felt as though I needed to keep things close. But in either case, just because someone isn't using information that I have been vulnerable with them about as a weapon against me, doesn't mean that I just need to divulge all the things. Not everybody deserves access to this new me. And I'm very content with that. Not even content, I'm very happy with that. I can then take that energy, pour it back into myself, replenish me, resource myself, and then use that as fuel and momentum to keep going. And like I said, the jetpack is on. You can come with me or you cannot. Doesn't change anything about my journey, doesn't change anything about the person, doesn't change. I don't need all these qualifiers. My jetpack is on and I am going. Thank you all so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next video, okay? All right.